From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. And hello, everyone. I'm Jamie Hickson.
And I'm Eric Rosen.
We are so happy that you could join us this evening. Now, because of the nature of tonight's show, we're not taking phone calls, but you can still get more stuff about tonight's show through Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And the reason tonight's show is so special is because, one, we're back in our old stomping grounds of Studio A, and two, we've got some very special guests. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the manager of the striking Cobras Cal Ripken League baseball team, Mr. John Franco. How about a nice round of applause for Coach Franco?
Thank you.
Coach, it's good to see you again. How are you?
Jamie, it's always a pleasure, Jamie.
First off, let's start from the very beginning. How did the Cobras come about?
Cobras came about, I'd say, about 6 years ago. I had a few players on the team, Jordan Sandsgaard, Francesco Caruso, and my son Nicholas Franco. We played in the South Shore Little League. The kids enjoyed the time together. Somehow, some way, we talked the parents into keeping the kids together for the community and the time that they had together. And we wound up putting a team together for the fall that season, and the rest is history. We kept the kids together, and we grabbed new kids every year. Some kids have to get aged out because of the age bracket we're in and what have you. But for the most part, we tried our best to keep the kids together and keep a good environment. So I'm happy to say we've had the same group of kids for quite some time.
For the record, what age level is the team at?
Well, now we're in our last year in Little League. They're a 12U team, so they're a 12UA division. This will be their last year in that division. The kids are getting at the age now of Babe Ruth, so next year they'll be moving up to the Babe Ruth League.
And for the record, where do you play your home games, if at all?
Well, majority of our games are played at Great Hills, the major field. But being that the acquisition that they've taken on New Springville, we will be playing a lot of games this year in New Springville. And then we do a lot of traveling. We've made relationships with some organizations, some out in Manhattan. So we go to Manhattan. We try to get to Long Island. And in this season, we're trying our best to do a lot of tournaments in Jersey. So we'll be traveling a lot this year. I think there's one in, Delaware that they want to try out, that the kids can actually dorm. The coaches can dorm there. The parents can stay at a separate hotel. And the kids have the opportunity to stay there for 3 or 4 days. And it's relatively inexpensive.
Talk about the competition outside the borough. You mentioned going to Manhattan and Jersey.
Right.
What is the atmosphere, better yet, what is the playing level like outside of the borough?
I think it's not so much the playing level that's important. I think what's important is that our kids see a different variety of the type of children and the type of playing that they go involved with. In the regards to the kids in Manhattan, the kids were bigger, stronger. We unfortunately went out there when our kids were 11 originally, and we played 13-year-olds because that's the only team that we could play against. And our kids, believe it or not, because of the heart that they play with, I have to say they came through with flying colors, and they came out with the tournament's championship. But I think the most important thing they gained from it was the different type of personalities that they experienced. And I think that was the most important part of it, is the personalities. So when we want to go to Jersey and we want to go to Delaware, it's not so much the competition, because I happen to believe at the end of the season we'll have probably the best team on Staten Island because of the fact that our kids, and when I say the best team, I'm not talking about their skill, I'm talking about the group of kids that we have. They're respectful. They come from good parents, and what's most important, in my opinion, is they become friends at the end of the season. And because of that, you could see in relatively how they play in a skill level, how it increases.
Eric?
You know what? You take this, man.
All right. This actually came about last year because we filmed one of your games over at Great Hills. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the tournament for Hurricane Sandy benefits, correct?
That is correct. The Great Hills had put together a tournament to do a fundraiser. So all the funds that were collected from the teams that did play in the tournament wound up obviously going towards the needy of Hurricane Sandy. And the tournament itself was a good experience for the kids because a lot of the kids were not going to be going through the greatest of times, so to speak, with their friends or family members going through such a catastrophe. So it was a good time to bring the people out of their homes, away from their troubles, and almost bring something to the table that they could be a little bit more comfortable, appreciating with the kids.
And we're going to be bringing in some of those kids in the next few moments. If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, I think you have a roster of about 11 players, correct?
Well, we actually have a roster of 14 players.
Okay.
There's one unfortunate player that's not going to be able to be here today. So it's unfortunate he's not going to be participating. But for the most part, we keep anywhere between 13 to 14 kids on the roster, which sometimes becomes difficult, when we only are playing 9 to 10 kids in the roster in any one given game. But because of the relationships over time, the bickering between the kids on who gets more playing time, what have you, becomes a lot less than you would normally expect because of the fact that they're all friends. So they give up their time, whether it's because they've played on another team during the beginning of the day or they had a bad weekend, whatever the case might be, which is what you learn to appreciate.
It's interesting. Whereas we're used to seeing a 9-man batting order at the highest level, at this level, you're able to play as many as 10, 11, maybe even 12 guys in a batting order, correct?
Well, I could actually play a rotary lineup and play 14 kids if they show up. The difficult time with that is that the kids don't go around the batting order quick enough, and it unfortunately makes it difficult to bring kids in and out of the field. So what we tend to prepare the kids for is the tournament play. Tournament play is 9 players plus a DH. So we're allowed to use the 10 as an alternate route, and then when kids come off the field and they're replaced by another player, it becomes a married situation. So if I marry the number 2 batter to another person that's replaced them, I could take them now in and out of the game and exchange them, and it makes it convenient for us to keep the rotary lineup moving versus playing.
Do you have pitch counts at your level of baseball for your pitchers?
We don't have pitch counts. The rule in this level of play, which this level of play is a lot higher than the Little League, the kids only have a 2/6, which means that over 2 games, they're only allowed to play six innings total. So in most cases, we've tried to be very cautious on how many innings they play. But for the most part, and our coaches and as well as the players know that if they pitch 1 or 2 innings and they're pitching a lot of pitch counts, we'll take them out either way. So our concern is more of not the results of the game. It's not more of the results of the inning. It's more of the player itself. Because we could always come tomorrow and play another game, so to speak.
I was just wondering, what kind of regimen do you put your players through normally on a week?
It's difficult to put some of the kids through a tough regimen now because of Little League. As the season progressively goes forward and Little League subsides and it's not around anymore, we'll go between a 2 to 3 practice week. So each week we'll go between every Thursday we go to a batting cage. That doesn't change unless there's a game that's on the schedule or a tournament, and then we'll put 2 to 3 outdoor practices to give them different drills. One practice will be a throwing drill, one practice will be a running drill, one practice will be a fielding drill, so that it's not like they're always throwing or they're not always exerting themselves to hurt themselves. On average, we'll look to play anywhere between 1 and 3 games per week. On the weeks that we obviously have more games, we're going to have less practices because we obviously don't want the kids to exert themselves too much. I mean, they're still only 12 years old. And some of them even younger, actually, 10 as well.
Do you also put them on sort of a meal plan or anything of what they should what kind of things they should
I
eat?
wish I could, but I don't think I could do that. We have a few that are on a special diet, which I guess that's an internal joke, but there's not really a diet. I mean, we're not here to train the elite to that respect. I mean, what our goal here is to build a family, a family of baseball players that are here to have fun. We don't tolerate the cursing, the screaming, the hollering. All we care about is the kids have fun. So if the kids are gonna eat what they eat, I mean that's on the parents. All we say is during the game, there's no eating, French fries in the dugout. Ironically, a story comes up that we had a player that whenever he played the first half of the game, The second half of the game, he knew he wasn't going in, so his mother would bring him French fries and cheese.
Wow.
And
Sort of
one
like a
day,
Wade Boggs.
yeah, it was hysterical. He didn't eat, so I guess he would be eating in the dugout while everybody's looking at him like we're playing in the middle of a baseball game. So one of my coaches, he's not here today, unfortunately, Coach Brian, we put the kid in to bat. I remember being towards the end of the game, and the bat flew. And all of a sudden, Coach Brian says, I guess that's what happens when you're eating French fries in the middle of the dugout.
Wow.
So it was a funny story at the time. I mean, obviously, it's not something we like, but we could laugh about those things. We don't have the parents or the group, and that goes into the background of picking this team together. Ironically, when we try out the kids, we pay more attention to the parents. So our coaches will go over to the parents and even myself to talk to them and to see what kind of people they are. Because we're going to be stuck with them just like the player for the rest of the season. So the parents go through more of an interview than the kids do sometimes. Kids, we expect to be baseball players when we're done with them. We don't expect them to be baseball players when they come to us because it's a sport. Kids, aren't born to be baseball players. It's just sometimes they're here to have fun and become baseball players. But parents, they're parents. You can't change them. So we try to feel a little hesitant in which ones we pick.
It's funny that you mentioned the family atmosphere because judging by some of the photos that we're going to be showing in the next few moments, this has become one big happy family. I mean, you've been able to really, really keep these kids grounded outside of baseball. Why don't you tell us about some of the stuff that you've been doing for the kids to let them let their hair down?
Well, let me just stay with my motto of the team, and I have to correct you for a second. It's not me. I have coaches, I have team moms, I have parents. We all chip in this team. I might be the decision maker, but at the end of the day, if I didn't have my coach Chris in the dugout coaching first base, if I didn't have Paul doing the administrative and baseball stuff that he does, and that's an inside joke, but Paul goes out of his way for all the kids on the team. And if I didn't have Tori and Rosa as our team moms helping out, a lot of the kids wouldn't even be wearing the uniforms, the banners, or half the activities we do. We recruited one of the daughters of the players or sisters to the players on the team. We recruited her to be a photographer. She became very dedicated to coming to the games. She started enjoying the sport and what have you. And her name is Juliana, and she's amazing. She comes through like a champ with all the pictures you're gonna see. She's the one who took them all. Wow. I'd say if not 99% of them. So in regards to the activities, it's a group effort. Perfect example is last year we went to have a group picnic, and it was a great idea to bring the kids together. We were going to Wolf Pond Park, I think it was, and it was supposed to be like 103 degrees out. And everybody looked at me like, well, what are we going to do with these kids in 103-degree weather? And Coach Chris, which ironically his wife is Tori, one of the team moms, they volunteered their house. And then that just proves and shows the type of atmosphere we have. We all brought something, whatever who brought the hot dog rolls, who brought the watermelon, or who brought the soda. And we all went to Tori's house and Chris's house, and they welcomed us into their house for not knowing us very long, because that was their first season with us. And we had a tremendous, I want to say tremendous because it wasn't just the kids that showed up. It was the kids' friends. It was their brothers, their sisters. It was the friends from the parents themselves. So it became, instead of 20 or 30 people, I'd say that Tori and Chris had to entertain maybe 50 or 60 people that day,
Wow.
who came and went. And it was a great environment. And that's really why I do it. People don't realize that they're creating an environment for my son. My son has 13 other friends. He has parents. And I want to make sure he's surrounded by people that are going to bring him up in a way that I want to respect. So the kids that are here, I owe them a gratitude as much as they do to me. And I respect them because every one of them show me respect. So I think that the biggest key is that if we don't give the kids respect, how can we honestly expect them to give it to us? And I think that's one of the things that makes our team special is our kids don't scream at them. I mean, outside me screaming my son, and one of the coaches will scream at their kid because that's typical. But for the most part, our coaches are supportive. You make an error, you get up, you do it again, and hopefully you don't make the error next time. Whereas in other cases, sometimes you don't see that. And I think that's what we pride ourselves on.
Kenny Graham and Guy Cormier are on the other side of the glass right now. If they can flash a thumbs up, I think we'd like to show some of those mementos of, okay, Guy just gave the thumbs up, so we're going to be showing a few mementos of a typical day in the life of the striking Cobras. So you can just show them at any time. In the meantime,
I just want to say breaking news. The Rangers just scored a goal. They're up 1-0 with about 4:43 left in the first period.
And the goal scorer was?
Aaron Asham on assist by Chris Kreider.
Asham has been such a quietly promising role player for them.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's a very fast guy they got from Boston University, actually Boston College last year. Just months into the postseason, very good player they acquired.
And Derek Brassard has been such a revelation for them ever since that trade.
I know, especially when him, Matt Moore, and also getting Ryan Cloud. Granted, he's injured right now. Still, good pickups they got for the Rangers.
And there are some of the photos that we have over there. Describe this one for us.
That was actually a championship dinner. We handed out the trophies.
Speaking
and
of
actually, the trophy that's on the bottom, the plaque, that was made, we bought the kids, we won the district last year, and each kid got a custom plaque with their name on it, showing that they won the actual district for Staten Island. And that's the trophy for the spring season.
And there's the team photo right there.
This is the team photos, actually, right after the actual championship game, which I don't know if you have the video, but this will be the video that was captured at that game.
We do have the video, and all they have to do is cue it up, and then they can give us either thumbs up or thumbs down, and then we'll be able to show it. Is it fun getting
that
a
was
chance
actually
to manage these kids?
That was a picture, actually, of the aquarium.
Yeah,
we
like
took the
that.
kids to Camden, New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
And the kids all, and again, that's the type of environment we try to create.
Looks like a stingray.
It's actually a petting, that's exactly what it is. I think there was a little bit more in there. Francesco, anybody remember what was in there? There was stingray, sharks. Okay.
Here's another family photo.
That's actually the family in the parking lot before we actually went to the event. It took us about 3 hours to get to about an hour and a half trip. So that was another story and a half.
Wow. Is it fun getting a chance to manage at this level?
I think it's amazing. This is actually inside the aquarium as well. I think it's amazing because at this age, not only are the kids growing, I looked at some of the pictures, and you could probably see them in some of the later pictures that you're going to show here. I've watched some of the kids go from being a half pint to being the kids that they are today. This is the actual district tournament championship photo. That was the team when we won the district last year. The kids have grown. I've watched some of these kids grow right in front of me to young men, and honestly, you have to say that they're very respectful. This is the dinner. We've had a dinner in the Page Diner. And the kids all got together at just for I think a night after a game or what have you.
It seems like getting a chance to take them out on activities like this is one way to have them unwind from the pressures of the game. Is it important to keep that kind of perspective for the kids?
I think so. I think that one of the gifts that our kids have is that by the time they do get on the field, they already have shook hands. They've already what their Xbox login is, their PlayStation logins. They already know what games that they play. So they're all friends. And I think that's very, very important. And the reasons why I do the activities, because I think that once you get that out of the way, when you bring them to the baseball field, they become more comfortable. They become more supportive. They allow themselves the flexibility to give each other room when they do make errors, and they pat each other on the back a little bit differently when they don't know each other. We've played teams that you can tell that they've never played together before, and in our case, our kids don't look like that. We've already played a handful of games. We have about 5 new guys that you'll see today, and those guys haven't fit in yet because they're still uncomfortable with themselves or on the new field or on the new team. The last 2 games, you saw them progressively getting to mesh together. Not play better, but play better together. They'll still make the same errors, but the difference is now they become so supportive that the error is so minor in regards to the respect of the game itself. So now, the games that the last 2 games that they probably would have lost under the circumstance of not knowing each other, because they're becoming more familiarized with each other, they're playing much better together.
For the record, even though you play the majority of your home games at Great Hills, you're not necessarily affiliated with the Great Hills Little League. You're actually more affiliated along the lines of the Cal Ripken League and the State Federation. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We're more of a Cal Ripken. Like, for example, at the end of the season, we'll go and represent, like we did last year, the district for Great Hills, the district itself. But in many senses, like we did last year, we'll go to the Bronx, play for the Bronx, hopefully. Or play in the Bronx, and we'll represent Staten Island. So there'll be 2 teams that represent Staten Island or New York, and we'll hopefully be one of them. And that's the goal for this team this year, is to go out with a bang, so to speak, in the 12U in the Little League, and try to get ourselves to the state championship.
Of the teams that you've played outside the borough, who would you consider to have been the toughest team that you had played one day?
The toughest team. The Bronx. I'm gonna go with the Bronx, since all the guys are putting their hands up with the Bronx. The Bronx was the team Polino. They've historically have gone the distance to the playoffs. This year they lost to, I think, California. They almost went the distance. The same team that our guys fought their heart out against went that far. So I commended our, even though we weren't successful in beating them. I mean, granted, jokingly, the third baseman, I think my coach Brian walked over to him and said, "Listen, we didn't catch your name for the book. Can we see your driver's license?" The kids were astronomically big. The kid on the mound had a kid in the dugout in a little carriage.
Wow.
Yeah, it was big. So it made it difficult for our kids, because our kids didn't meet their spurts. I have guys on the team that are 10-year-olds at the time playing against 12-year-olds that have already turned 13. So you'll see guys like La Barbera, Pathasis. You'll see Sebi. Sebi's one of the kids that'll tell you his own story, but he's been on the team for the longest at his age bracket. He's one of the youngest on our team, and I have to say he's got a lot of heart. And so for the age itself, you'll see that a lot of our kids are going up against kids that they rightfully shouldn't be on the same fields with. But because they play with the heart that they do, they belong there, and they've earned their respect in the field. So,
Eric?
Can't believe that, like that tall players.
Yeah, they're
in the Bronx?
big. They're up there.
What, like the Indiana Pacers of baseball?
Yeah, they're the one guy had a bigger mustache than I do.
And you know what? There's the video of you winning the title last year.
Wow.
Yes, that's
1-minute clip.
That's Matt Pacone hitting it, pitching. Sebi throwing it to Franco at first.
And then came the celebration.
Came the celebration, yes.
What a heck of a celebration that
That's Onyx in the background. Bam Bam. Musto, Enrique.
What was that like for you?
It was a great experience, because honestly, I share the smiles with them, and I have to say that to see them happy makes me happy. These kids are, for the time being, they're my kids. So they have a stepfather, if you want to call it that. So I'm very happy to make them happy.
While this video is concluding, let's talk about the style of play of the Cobras.
No, but if I can, Jamie, for a second, if you noticed, all the kids in the background, the T-shirts, those are all the brothers and family members, and just to show that they're there to support their brothers. So I think that shows, the type of team that we try to put together.
Go ahead, go on and give yourselves a round of applause. Who was the team that you beat for the title last year?
Last year, I think, anybody? Oh, no, that's the district. The district was what, Westerly? Westerly was for the district. Richmond County was for Sandy, and Dynasty was for the season.
I see.
So it was, you had to go through the list. I apologize.
Now, let's talk about the style of play of the Cobras.
Okay.
Each team would
Have
be
a
classified as a hitting club, or a team that runs the bases, tries to steal. a team that would swing for the fences, team that bases themselves on pitching. How would you best describe the Cobras?
Ironically, one of my coaches, Coach Chris, he loves to call it small ball, and that's what we can honestly say our team's based on. Our kids, we have strengths and weaknesses, and we play to them. So what we try to bring to the table is bring real baseball, and a lot of the kids that we play against aren't prepared for that. So I think that a lot of times why our kids are very successful is because they bring the small ball to the table. This year, I have to say that this year is slightly different. We had some new additions, and not only with the new additions, but we've seen some spurts in some of the players that have changed the way we're going to play this year. So we have a different lineup. The lineup has more potential with the bat and more potential with the base running. So with the two of them combined, as long as we play defensively, which I know the kids will, I think that we'll have a much better season than the kids are expecting.
Eric?
Oh, sorry, I really don't have any good questions like my man Jamie.
It's good, man.
That's okay. It's all good.
Here's a follow-up. During drills, what do you emphasize with the kids the most on? Do you emphasize fielding? Do you emphasize running the bases? Or do you emphasize other fundamentals in the game?
I think that how we structure our practices, each one of our practices, go over everything. Some things might be stronger in each individual practice, but in order to keep the kids occupied, now mind you, they're 11, 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, you have to keep them busy. So what we do is we separate them in smaller groups that are more identified. So one group might be doing the running, one group might be doing the pitching, and one group might be doing the hitting. So what we do, and again, what makes this team special, is we don't have a manager that's looking to be control freak. So the parents become the recruits. We have some new parents this season that have, in their minds at least, baseball knowledge and baseball experience. So they wanna help out.
Yeah.
And I think that it's great to be able to bring them into the equation because it makes them happier. By making them happier, makes their kids happy, and so on and so forth. So when we go through the practice, we'll have the parents that are there help out in the practice. So someone might be hitting the ball and giving a fly ball drill. Somebody might be doing an infield drill. Somebody might be working with the pitching or the catching or what have you. But for the most part, we do a little bit of everything. The way we end each and every practice is we do a relay. Kids enjoy it for some reason. You would think that the running they would not want to do so much of, but they love the racing against each other. It's not meant to time them or anything like that. Ironically, by them racing as much as they do against each other, they race more because they want to versus us telling them to. And then one of the other drills we do is we call it the fly ball drill. We just hit balls out in the outfield and randomly they catch them. There's no skill taught to them. It's just a matter of them catching the ball and having fun. Sometimes we'll count and say the person who catches the most fly balls will get something, a hat or shirt or whatever it might be. But it's meant more for the fun of it, not so much the discipline. But there are times that we teach discipline and we try to emphasize that the seriousness of it during the gameplay.
Got anything, Eric?
Wow, I really am terrible at this. I know. I know.
You're stumped, man. I think it might be more starstruck than anything, huh?
No, I'm really just in awe of this team.
Is that it is?
And what you do with these players and the family atmosphere you have. Like, what was the most difficult practice you've ever had? In all the years that you've been with this team.
The most difficult practice?
Or recently, you know what?
I think the difficult part is when you have to work around everybody's schedule. So because of that, you're trying to put as many practices on the calendar so you can actually get the kids, moving and running around. But at times, coaches have work, parents